Hello Blues, welcome to the latest edition of Manchester is Blue. We hope you're all having a good week. Today we're talking with myself, Tom Brunt, City Dave, Dan Fielding and our new admin, James Smith. We talk about all things City from this week and we talk about the three bad things that have happened. City losing against Liverpool, Bernardo Silva confirmation of a 50 grand fine and a one match ban, and obviously the Sterling situation. We talk about so much more than this, as well as the usual fan questions, and we go into great analysis in relation to the City game and where Pep's tactics went wrong. We hope you enjoy this as much as we enjoyed making it. Speak soon. Are we happy just to crack on? Because I feel like we've all got a lot of things to say today.
Dave's going to be quite quiet, isn't he?
I'm just going to listen today.
The day that happens, mate, I can't see it. We'll crack on if you guys are all right. Obviously, it's been a really, really rubbish couple of days, hasn't it? I mean, it's funny to be one of the richest clubs in the world, and you can still feel that negativity and that. I don't want to use the word depression, but it's all a bit glum, isn't it? After a couple of days of bad news, and today with Bernardo as well, it just seems to be a nail in the coffin of the three things that have gone wrong. Hopefully now this can be a turning point for a bit of good news to come through, and we can start rising from where we are now, because hopefully we won't get any lower than fourth. I hope not.
Yeah, it's. I think we've got a hangover from Vinny leaving. To be honest, I think we've not played great this season. I think the highlight has probably been the Watford game. I mean, we did take them apart, but it was Watford. I mean, where's the other highlights apart from that? With loads of injuries, loads of complaints about our defence, loads of complaints about the way we've been playing. It's not really a lot of positives, to be perfectly honest, is there, for since August that you can really take from it. Sterling, obviously, probably one of the top 5 players in the world now, but not been a great season, has it? Let's be honest.
So what has been your main highlight? How about you, James? What's been your highlight for this season?
Probably seen more Foden and then the emergence of Doyle coming through. I think, but then with the injuries that we've had, I don't think he's going to get enough game time. Not this season. Not until the injuries have quietened down. I don't think he's going to risk it. With the way that David Silva's been playing, because David's not been his normal self this season.
No,
he's just not. No. He's not made them same runs that he's been making, and yeah, De Bruyne's been getting them 9 assists. But if De Bruyne were injured like he were last season, we could be a lot lower than 4th.
Yeah, that's true. Do you think the captaincy is a heavy weight for Silva?
I think it is this season. I think it is with his last season. I think he's going to want to try and win trophies, but then he's got to fill Vinny's shoes, hasn't he? Theoretically,
it's a hard shoes.
I think maybe it should have gone to somebody that's going to be at the club a little bit longer than a season.
I think they probably missed out on a trick because Kevin De Bruyne was very vocal in him kind of wanting the captaincy, wasn't he? In July, August, he was saying, I think, his quote was, well, if they give it me, I'd love to take it. Because I think there was some kind of player vote, wasn't there, around who was going to really take it. But yeah, I agree with James that, I think it might be a bit too much for Silva. He's definitely off the boil. And Fernandinho is a lot more vocal than Silva on the pitch, and that's what you need. But De Bruyne is very vocal as well. And to James's point, maybe having someone in there who, knock on wood, we're not going to lose, and he's going to still be there for a few years. That probably in hindsight, maybe De Bruyne should have got it, and Silva could have just done his thing for his magic for the next 12 months.
Do you think there's a general down feeling amongst the team and the players about Kompany missing? And he was such an influential player. With him just going out the picture completely, it just seems like there's a bit of a hole there. For me, do you think the players feel that as well as the fans?
I do personally. We've lost that dressing room spark to a degree, and we know Silva is no Kompany, a fantastic player, but I'm sure he's not the vocal presence that Kompany was. And you know, you lads are at the games every week. Unfortunately, I'm 5,000 miles away. But you know, I would ask you, is there a different vibe in the, you know, in the crowd at the stadium since August? And you know, we've lost Captain Vinny.
The mood's definitely been different. I don't know if that's just the way I accept it or I take it in. I think that's because we've not been our swashbuckling self. If this is the first season, a couple of seasons where I thought to myself, I'm not confident today. I'm not confident at all today. I don't know if that's because of the two defeats we've had, or the manner in which we were defeated. But I just don't feel like we've got that invincible tag at the minute that we did a couple of seasons ago. Remember when we lost? We went on a massive run of games, didn't we? Where we thought to us that we're not going to get beat this season. It's impossible for us to get beat. Yeah. That's how I think Liverpool feel at the moment, which really worries me.
Well, can you remember when Joe Hart used to be in, like when we used to have the tunnel and the camera used to be on before the guys used to go out, and then you'd have Vinny, wouldn't you, at the front, and then you'd have Joe behind him. You always had Joe that was shouting every single time before the lads went out. You'd always have it in. You knew that Joe were going to be there through the entire game, and I think that's something that we lack at this moment in time. I know De Bruyne might be vocal and whatever, but especially defensively, I know Edison. I don't know whether Edison speaks any good English or not. I've no idea, but we don't seem to have this guy at the back that's going to put them challenges in. That ain't bothered about, you know, getting cut, getting battered, putting a shift in, like what Zabi used to do and what Vinny did, and you know, Kolarov did the same thing. We kind of lacking that bit. We've gone a bit too, not soft, but a bit too weak sometimes. We're a bit too scared about actually getting stuck into games and grinding the game out and getting the 1-0. Instead, it has to be the 3-4, 5-0 results. And I don't think Liverpool are bothered about getting a 1-0 result because it's 3 points.
What do you think, Dan?
I'd have to agree. For me, though, even De Bruyne, I don't think we've got any vocal close to leadership trait. I think since we've lost the old guard, Silva and Aguero are still in the old guard, but we had Zabaleta to fall back on for a captain. We had Joe Hart, like James said, to fall back on as a captain. We had Vinny. You know, we had a whole host of Yaya even. Yeah, exactly, Yaya. Who do we really look to? With De Bruyne and Fernandinho are in the team, who do we really look to? Aguero? Silva? Obviously, Silva's a captain, but Silva, for me, I understand why he got it, because obviously it's his last season. The players want him to go out on a high. He's led the club through some fantastic times, like Vinny did. But it's not the only reason we're failing this year. And let's be honest, we are failing. Compared to our standards, we are failing.
Yeah.
And we can't base it down just on the captaincy. But like James said, we haven't got that leader. We haven't got that vocal presence. I think the only one that does shout is Edison. And whether they understand him or not is a different matter. But one man, the team over the past 10 years, we've had about 3, 4, maybe even 5 at a time, vocal lads that would just say, get a tackle in, win that ball, get it up to the end of the pitch and put it in the back of the net. Now we've got no one really.
Totally agree with that.
Yeah, I can't disagree with any of that. It's tough because we've got such an important last couple of weeks of November, and December is going to be so influential to our season. I know it sounds a bit bonkers, but you know, we got beat by Liverpool. I want us to put that back beside us as quickly as possible, because we've got a hell of a run of games coming up that we need to be on all guns blazing. Leicester, United, Arsenal. You know, it's not an easy 6 weeks we've got ahead of us. We just need to put that behind us now. And this is why the whole Sterling thing recently has not helped, I don't think, because obviously it keeps it on the media's lips, doesn't it? It keeps the media looking for negativity in what's happening with City, and they're always willing to stoke the fire, aren't they? Especially with us getting beat and what happened in the England thing. It's just not helped with this Sterling situation at all. Especially they've got such a busy month, a busy 6 weeks schedule coming up.
No, but as you said as well, Tom, when you were talking on that other podcast, at least we save Sterling now, and he's maybe going to be a little bit fresher, because I know we're going to get on to the Anfield debacle soon, but he was really the only player who came out with any kind of credence that he'd had a decent game. So he's head and shoulders above any other player at City right now in terms of ability and talent and playing for that shirt.
I think you're spot on. I think the only positive thing to come out of this Sterling thing is 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 whatever days rest is for the whole team as well as Sterling. I don't know who else got out on international duty, but we have got a few players out, haven't we, at the moment?
Got Stones out as well.
Overseas. So it's just
Stones is out. Otamendi's out. Edison's joined the Brazil squad.
So that's interesting.
Edison's joined the Brazil squad.
That's interesting. Do we know if he's going to be playing or he's just going for?
No idea. It came up on his Instagram this morning.
Yeah.
Well, we can only see that as a positive, can't we? I'd like to think so, anyway.
Yeah. Unless he's going and he's just not going to actually, play. He's just gone. But he was in full training gear from what I've seen.
Well, that's not a bad thing, is it? I saw Zane is walking. Zane is up and about. That's always a positive side without a cast. Ready for his new.
You'll be loving that, won't they?
Ready for his new contract at Bayern Munich.
Exactly. Exactly.
Am I being sceptical there?
Can you imagine if we're all wrong and he's doesn't actually go to Bayern?
If we're wrong, I'll happily hold my hands up. I honestly think he's gone. I've really, hands down at the same time, hope he hasn't gone. But I don't see a turnaround. If Bayern come knocking on a German player's door, you're going to want to play for Bayern, aren't you, really?
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you? You really would think so. Sorry, I'm just trying to sort my phone out. You really would think so.
They have got to think about, though, who the new coach is going to be. And the only thing that I would say is, what if that coach comes in and just flatly says, no, I don't want Zane. The way I want to set out my team and play, Zane's not a player for me. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see who Bayern bring in the next few weeks. And if you did see, there was a rumour going around that Guardiola's trying to be tempted back to go there as well. I can't see it for 1 minute, but I think the next couple of weeks we're going to see who that new Bayern coach is going to be. And, could be Mourinho I think Mourinho would do a great job at Bayern Munich. I think it's all dependent on that before they really say if they're going to try and buy Zane or not.
I think we all know it's not going to be Pep. That's the media just getting City's negativity at the moment, isn't it? Trying the best to stick the fork in. It's funny, because I was thinking about this. Like last season, there was a similar thing, and I can't remember what the stories were. But this time of year, there's always a bit of a dig about the teams at the top, and then the media just switches the angle completely to the other teams and then trying to bolster it up. I hope that's what they're doing. It's very clever if they are doing that. But I just think we're going to have City going to have a good run, and they're going to hopefully get the press behind us for a couple of months, and they have that positive vibe back to fight back. Because let's face it, that's what the media wants. The media don't want. I know Liverpool. I firmly think the media wants Liverpool to win, but they don't want it to be by 20 or 30 points. They want it to be a fight to the death, and they would love City to come back charging in the second half of the season. I think everyone would really, but they ultimately want Liverpool to win it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Should we get on to Liverpool?
Yeah.
I'm putting it
I admit, though, as much as we'd all hate the idea of Liverpool winning, the good thing, if there is anything good to take away from any other teams, is there are a lot of other good teams out this year. Leicester and Chelsea, teams you would never have thought to be up there. They're ahead of us, and fair enough, Leicester lost to the Scouse, It's still a long way to go yet. If we don't win it, I'd much rather either Chelsea or Leicester to win it than Liverpool, because we'd never hear the end of it.
Exactly.
Can't argue with that, actually. Do you know what? It's funny because I used to hate Chelsea with a bit of a passion, but they've become a little team I'm watching at the moment, and I'm enjoying watching the youth coming through. And I think Lampard's going to do nothing but brilliant things there, which annoys me a little bit. He's going to do really good. It's going to be interesting to have him back, isn't it, for the City game?
Be nice.
That's jealous.
Yeah, I think Lampard's probably going to be England manager within 6 years.
Oh, that's
I would say.
Yeah, I didn't even.
We said that about Redknapp, though, didn't we?
Yeah.
If you look,
and they put Sam Allardyce in.
If you look at the camaraderie that Lampard's already fostered at Chelsea with these younger players, it's kind of followed the model of Southgate, with England, that we're not any better players, but what he's developed is a bit of a better team spirit. And I think if Lampard continues with this, gets some success in the league and in Europe as well, maybe in cups, he will. He's highly regarded by the FA. I can absolutely see when Southgate goes, them going for another young manager as well, who's kind of on the same wavelength of these younger players. And who better than that than Lampard? The way he's coaching this team right now.
I can't disagree with that. What's your thoughts on Liverpool then? Where are we going to start? Who wants to start us off?
We're going to
say Varta last, or do you know what, Dave? I'm just going to let you go. Just go.
I am age. Disgraced. Yeah, age before beauty. Disgraceful performance. The only one who can hold his head up with any kind of pride is Sterling.
Yeah.
And I've been saying to you lot for weeks and weeks and weeks now, my big bugbear is against Pep. And I don't want anyone listening to this, watching this, to get this wrong. I think what he's done for Manchester City is absolutely incredible. My concern is that he is not learning from the mistakes that he's making in games, and he's not even attempting to look at different formations, look at different tactics when he's coming up against different teams. We got absolutely found out against Wolves at home. We got beaten by Norwich, who are letting in goals for fun now. That was their cup final against us, and they won it. I had a problem with that formation that he put together. Problem with Wolves formation, and certainly a problem with the Liverpool formation as well. I was telling you lot for a week, 2 weeks on the last podcast I was on. I was saying that we should be playing 3-5-2. You don't play 4-3-3 against Liverpool at Anfield. Yeah, I appreciate that we attacked, and that whole VAR thing is a different story. But at the end of the day, they sliced us like a hot knife through butter, time and time and time again. It was because we didn't have any control of that midfield at all. And Walker and Angelino were just very, very average. Stones and Fernandinho were very, very average. My son said to me he didn't even hear De Bruyne's name until the second half. Gundogan was off the boil. Aguero should have been taken off, in my opinion, within 20 minutes. He couldn't have scored in a brothel on Sunday. Just no way. And I think he got it. I think Pep's got it all wrong. And unless we're careful, unless he takes his head out of his arse and starts really thinking about, I need to start looking at teams and playing different formations and maybe a little bit more defensive, I think we could be in real trouble this season. He had the players that on Sunday to play a 3-5-2 formation and make us look more solid and press the ball more. And he didn't do it. I was just looking it up just now. He waited until the 71st minute, Guardiola, to make a change to that game, when you knew we were 3 goals down by that point. Sergio Aguero was having an absolute nightmare of a day. Bravo was, again, we couldn't do anything about Bravo, obviously, but how is he not standing on that sideline and thinking, can I change something up? Why isn't he not giving them a rocket at half time? Because we came out second half and we played even worse than the first half. And I'm just struggling with Pep right now that, me and Dan were talking about this quite a lot, that he's had so much success for the last 2 years playing 4-3-3, and that's brilliant. But now most teams have figured that out now, that this is how City are going to play and this is how they're going to set out the stall. Well, these more elite teams and these more elite coaches have figured that out now. And they know how to play against us. Wolves is a prime example of that. Norwich is a prime example. And Liverpool is absolutely an example of that. You have to be able to play different formations and look at different tactics. And Pep is refusing to do that right now. And I'm struggling with it. We're going to struggle this season if he doesn't change things up.
Do you think that the personnel we've got is not enabling Pep to make those choices? Are we missing the traditional big man or anything on those? Or do you think there's anything that we can do from that point of view?
So I knew, Tom, that you were going to ask that. So if you remember, I had my little document on the last podcast, and I kind of said that this is how I'd set up. So I went back into the team, and I looked at with the 11 that he had set up, with making actually one change. This is how I would have set up on Sunday against Liverpool. Bravo in goal, Walker, Fernandinho, Stones as your back three. I would have had Bernardo Silva on the right of midfield. David Silva was on the bench. Now, he's our captain. If he's fit enough to be in the bench, he's our captain. He should be bloody playing, in my opinion. Yes, he's not making the incredible runs like James was saying, like he was, but he's still the best influencer on the team that we have. I would have had David Silva. I would have had De Bruyne. Rodri, good. I would have had him in the middle as well. And I would have had Angelino on the left. So we've got a really strong, competitive five across midfield. And I would have had Aguero and Sterling up front. I would have taken Aguero off after 20 minutes and put Jesus on for the pressing. And I would have brought on Cancelo for Walker at some stage. And after 60 minutes, I would have brought on Foden for Silva. That would have been, for me, a lot more solid team. Would have been very, very difficult to break that kind of team down. And we couldn't break them down, and that was the problem. And I think Pep just looked like a deer caught in the headlights on Sunday. He just didn't. It had echoes of Pellegrini to me of, well, my plan isn't working, so I don't know what to do now. Well, he had so many good players on the bench, and he just seemed to dig in his heels and just accept that, oh, we're going to lose this one. And that annoys me.
Mm. Crikey.
Can I make... I've been wanting to interject, but I've waited. The thing that's bugged me with Sunday was, because I've been a goalkeeper at reasonably high level. Do you remember the Mane's goal from did you see the rear view from behind the goal of when the ball actually went in the back? Did you see the look on Stones' face? Stones was the look on his face was just confused. He didn't understand what had happened. And I watched it back and I actually paused it, rewound it, and you watch Bravo when he goes for that ball, he goes dead straight for the ball. He doesn't go at an angle, he doesn't look for the flight, and he's gone for the ball, and he's made that mistake to come back. And then he's had to dive backwards to go for the ball. And then I watched the whole game for everything that Bravo did. And this was the point I was making about, when we missed Joe Hart from being vocal and all that kind of stuff. Bravo should have been telling Fernandinho that Salah's making that run because Angelino's not played in 9 games. If Mendy's playing, Salah don't make that run because Mendy's tracking him. It's them small things that I think that we're missing. That I agree with playing the 3-5-2, but altering it a little bit in stuff, because when Walker and Stones play together, they don't seem to fit on when did that side. For me, Stones should have been playing the other side and Fernandinho should have been next to Walker, because Stones is a natural centre-half. Fernandinho is not a centre-half. Stones would have been able to... If it were Laporte in Fernandinho's place, Laporte would have been dealing with that ball. He'd have chested it down or he'd have headed it away. Fernandinho's gone towards goal, jumped in the air to try and get it with his foot. That's not a centre-half defending that cross. And that, for me, is the same thing. It falls on Pep. That Pep should know that stuff, or Arteta should know it, or whoever. He's going to go through the tactics, he's going to look at the game and go, Salah's going to make that run. Because when the Amazon documentary came out, if you remember, they did the bit on Liverpool. Where it was like, if you're in that space and you're in that space, if he's there, then you've got to be in here, because then that is how Liverpool are going to counter-attack. Surely they've done the same thing, because Angelino was in for tactical reasons. Mm-hmm. What were the tactical reasons why Mendy didn't play and Angelino did? If it's an attack-minded reason, surely you go 3-5-2. You wouldn't go 4-3-3 if Angelino's a better defensive player than Mendy.
Mm-hmm. Do we know why Angelino played? I know that's a bizarre question.
Pep was quoted on it. It was because Mendy had played midweek, and it was because he'd been out for a significant amount of time over the past 2 years. The only reason it was tactical was because he didn't want Mendy to play too many games in shorter space. But at the same time, why wouldn't you have played Angelino midweek against Atalanta and then played Mendy on Sunday.
It's true. It's a very good shout, that, because, you know, Angelino's got a lot of potential for me. A lot of potential. I think he was at fault early on for a few situations, but I think he redeemed himself. He's a young lad for me. You know, he's got a good movement. He's got a good offensive positioning. He's going to be a great player. I think we all know that. But I can't help thinking the game against Atalanta, Pep messed up a little bit with some of the players he played. I really question the strength of the team we put out.
Yeah, and this is my whole point, that I think Pep's been found out that he can play one way, and let's bear in mind that even if we had some of our key players back, we'd still be playing 4-3-3. That's not in any question. The question is, why isn't Pep thinking about other ways to break teams down rather than it has to be? He's focusing on how good the players are. That I'm going to play this formation because Bernardo Silva and Aguero and Zane and whoever else, are some of the best players in the world. Rather than, you don't have to be the best player in the world, as long as you've got your tactics and your formation right. As Wolves did, they're not the best players in the world, but they battered us because the tactics were correct. And I really struggle right now that since the start of this season, Pep has questioned what he's supposed to do.
You're not the only Blues questioning this, Dave. I don't know if you lads have seen the question by Ashley Hesk. I'll read it out if you don't mind. Has Pep gone as far as he can go with his tactics? Teams are starting to work us out. This is exactly what you were saying, Dave. It's mirroring for exactly what you're saying. Teams are starting to work us out now, and Pep can only be in at 3 previous clubs maximum. But he doesn't seem to be able to evolve his tactics anymore. And every time he moves to a different club, it gets to the same situation, same each time. It's not a bad shout, that, is it? Is he getting to that situation now where what's the next stage? Italy, to do exactly the same tactics for 18 months, 2 years?
I don't think he's getting to this. I don't think he's getting to the same stage. I think the thing is, I think it's more with us than it is with the club, because we've got Pep and then we've played the way we've played. I feel like sometimes we've got a bigger target on our backs than what other teams do, because I've not seen anyone set up against Liverpool the same way they do against us, as where they all sit at back and they try and counter them. There seems to be a bit too much respect for Liverpool, and for us, it's they're going to niggle us, they're going to foul us, like the Crystal Palace game in December of last year. That whole foul on Fernandinho, on De Bruyne, should have been a straight red card, but it wasn't. And then there's things like that, like how there's bits in games that are costing us games, but then VAR comes in and everyone seems to gravitate to VAR. VAR wouldn't have saved us from losing that game on Sunday. It would be irrelevant. Maybe if it had gone through and Sterling had scored, would we still have conceded? I still think we'd have conceded. I think conceding on Sunday were inevitable. But I think for Pep, when he first came in, he did try and play 3-5-2. And then he kind of figured out that 4-3-3 would work a bit more. But I think he wants to try and play a 3-5-2, but not setting up as a 3-5-2. I think when we played Fernandinho and Rodri at the back, he came out after me and said that he liked Rodri and Fernandinho playing as centre-halves because they were naturally better at playing the ball than what a centre-half was.
Yeah.
So I think he wants to get that fit of maybe eventually over time where Rodri's going to sit in like a centre of a 3 and play that way. Maybe that's something he's doing. I don't know. But
interesting.
If we finish fourth this year, I don't think we will. But if we do finish fourth, for me, it's exactly like his first season. I said it to a friend on Sunday that this feels like his first season all over again, as where he's trying to figure out what's happening. Certain players are playing certain ways. They're not fitting in right. And it's either going to come to the summer and we're going to get a massive overhaul, or Pep's probably going to leave. It's going to be I think it's going to be one of the two. I can see quite a few players leaving in the summer. Quite a few.
It's funny that because we've not been one to do that wholesale lots out, lots in, have we? There's been 1 or 2 key players here and there. We're not the type of team to go out and splash 160, 180 million on a player. It's the kind of what we've talked about before. Our scouting network seems to have picked up some absolute gems, and we're going to have to do that every now and then. It's funny because one of the fan questions we have is a guy called Anthony Fishwick, and he goes, tactically, I don't understand why if Otamendi is fit, they have to play alongside each other to get more game time. I'm assuming what he's getting at there is if they're defenders, play them as defenders. Don't stick Fernandinho in there. Surely playing them again with each other, they'll only get better and improve with that. So if Pep's seen something in training that's just not clicking there for them too.
I don't think he trusts Otamendi.
No,
I don't think he trusts Otamendi to defend.
I won't trust Otamendi to go to Tesco's for me.
But this is but this is why I can't understand. If he doesn't trust Otamendi, why is he not playing Garcia?
Good shout.
Exactly.
That's a very good shout.
That's what I can't. Because to me, it's the simple fact of that if you're playing Fernandinho because Fernandinho's a better passer than Garcia, then surely the 5 days of training that you've got, Garcia is going to get better at passing. Because when I watched him at Preston, he was pretty damn good to me. He looked like a Premier League centre-half, not a kid that's just come through the academy. That's the things that's bugging me with Pep, is the players that he's not playing in the positions that would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's a great shot.
Bugging me.
It would take some massive balls for him to stick Garcia in at centre-back, though, once against Liverpool. But is he capable of doing it? Do you know what? We might have seen the next Laporte coming through. He could have had an absolute blinder. We'll never know.
He could, and that's exactly what I was saying about Foden playing against Liverpool as well. You don't know until you give it a go. This lad has played, I know it was under 17, but he's played in the World Cup final in under 17. He bagged two goals, all right, or maybe even a hat-trick in that final. He can play at that level. Guardiola's gone on record of saying he wouldn't sell him for 500 million euros. If you think that highly of him, give him a go. And even if there is wholesale changes in the summer, you have to look to our academy first. To James's point, we have to be looking at bringing Harwood Bellis through and Doyle through and Garcia and giving them time this year. If James is right, and this is basically Pep looking at this season that, shit, I'm going to have to change things up a little bit because this isn't working. Surely you go and see what you have in the academy and be playing the Garcias and the Doyles, etc., and seeing if they're ready for next season. I don't want us going out and spending 250 million this summer, because what are we as Blues going to hear if we do that? You've bought the league, and we don't need to. We've got, James said 2 minutes ago that Garcia was a Rolls Royce against Preston. He played like a Premiership defender. So why do we have to go out and buy someone? We've got someone right there who's, I think, is ready.
It's a brilliant shout. I was reading today that we're looking to get Diaz, and his release clause is $66 million. Why Diaz when we got Garcia? I wouldn't see the point in that.
But I think it's for Otamendi going. I think it's for Otamendi going, because there were a rumour I reading in the summer that Otamendi were apparently going to Valencia.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
and it broke down, and because he's been asked to stay, so I think there was a transfer going through that fell through, and that's why Otamendi didn't go. Because for me, I don't see why else would he keep him if he was that close to going to Valencia. Why keep him? And if you're not playing him now in the biggest game of the season, surely he's not got a future for next season.
Yeah,
he can't do.
No, I can't argue with that. So going on to Liverpool, then obviously. We need to take the negatives and try and turn them on the positive. Just moving that to one side. If this was last season and we didn't have VAR there, do you think we would have lost?
Yes.
James?
I don't know. Excuse me, my dog's in here, so she'll probably crawl up behind me in a minute.
As long as she's a City fan, she's more than welcome.
Yeah. I don't. The thing I watched with Vinny was quite interesting, because Vinny said we played the same way and we set up the same way last year to what we did this year.
Right.
But the only difference from last year was that Mahrez missed that penalty. And I didn't think we played that bad. It was just fundamental mistakes that I think I've started from the back and have come forward against Liverpool. If we'd have been full strength, would we have lost on Sunday? If we'd have been Sané, Aguero, Sterling, David Silva, De Bruyne, Rodri, Mendy, Laporte, Stones, and Kyle Walker and Edison, would we have lost? I don't think we would. On paper, we're a better team than Liverpool. We've better players than Liverpool. But when Jordan Henderson's crossing on the right hand side and it's and it's an assist, you know something's not going right.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Dan?
See, I'm completely different to them two. I thought we would have won if it weren't for VAR. Because if you look at that first goal, instant reaction when the ball hit Alexander Trent's hand, everything stopped. Everything stopped. We wouldn't have scored then because everything stopped. VAR wouldn't have obviously been interviewed, wouldn't have been used. But after that, because they saw it clearly and they were still waiting in my eye, you could still see when the goal was scored, they were still really pissed off about why VAR hadn't been involved properly. And, well, it was involved, but not the decision they wanted. I think they were still hacked off about that. And if it weren't for VAR and the referee had just gone, no penalty, it would have been forgotten. At half time, it would have been brought up. But if it weren't for VAR and they kept banging on about VAR needing to be introduced, involved, saying, look, it was a penalty, we were there, it was handball. If the referee had dismissed it and there was no indication of VAR in there, I think that would have spurred them on a bit more.
Mm.
The only thing, going back to Pep's tactics on the weekend and throughout the rest of the season so far, the one thing, and I mentioned it, and Dave sort of really agreed with me on this, the fight back for the ball. This season, going back the past 2 seasons, how many times can you count that we've lost the ball and we've dropped back? 2 seasons ago, last season, if we lost that ball, Liverpool wouldn't have had a chance to breathe. Bernardo Silva did it in the game last season. Yeah. Liverpool were not given half a second to even think about playing a pass or even having another touch of the ball. He was at them. And that was the only reason we won the game last season, because of Bernardo Silva alone, really, for me. We didn't have any of that, and we haven't had that all season so far.
Couldn't agree more.
It's for me, I was sort of, you know me, I always talk to myself and what have you, and discussing the things to myself. It's almost as if like this international break's probably come at a worse time for us, because now we're thinking we're knackered. We're really, really knackered. And I think the injuries have taken its toll. And going back to what we were having a chat in our admin chat, I would love to see Jesus played on the left.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, that demolishes all the other formation. Because if you move Jesus out the left to give Sterling a rest, Jesus is going to get tired. Aguero is going to get tired. And who do we bring on? Sterling. If Bernardo Silva gets tired on the right, we bring out Sterling on the right. It's all just that. And I think it all ties in the fact that they're all so knackered and the injuries are taking a toll on the whole team that they're not being able to track back. And I think that's the only reason we're being found out is because of that. If you see next game against Chelsea, the next game, isn't it?
Yeah.
If we took the game to them, like we did Liverpool, because I think we did play all right against Liverpool. I think it was just that VAR thing that really fucked us off, and I think our focus was out the window when that happened. If you had every one of them forward players chasing after every single ball that we lost, the defenders wouldn't have had the worry, for me, because you would have thought, right, the attackers are knocking them out. We can get into a perfect defensive line now and defend our goal. And then Bravo will be like, right, my defence is doing it. I can steady myself. As soon as that Liverpool attack came and none of our players are going to close them players down, defence are like, shit, we better do 2 jobs here. We better do 2 jobs. And Bravo's like, hang on, they're all over the place. They're all over the place. I'm now starting to panic. And I think that's the only reason.
Guys, good point.
Good point, Dan.
But that's my backup to why we need somebody like Joao.
Exactly.
For that Fabinho goal, he had that much time. He could have pitched a 10. I was watching. I'm just like, is no one going to close him down? But then when you watch him from where he's on the pitch, there was only one place where he could have put the ball. To put it in the opposite corner would have taken a hell of a shot. And that's things where we're missing that dead cert leader at back. And I'm a bit confused as to why Stones aren't kind of taking it up, or I think they've gone, we've won title last 2 seasons, it'd be a bit hard for us this season, or what. It feels like they're just a little bit lazy. I don't know whether it's because the Euros are coming up or what.
I think it's false of that, but it can't be, can it? It can't be.
Well, I think it's just for me. Though. I think this loss is the final straw. I posted it on the page. I think it's the final straw. I think the two losses against Wolves and Norwich weren't a big enough kick up the arse, because we had Crystal Palace the past 2 seasons that have given us proper scares in the league. Norwich and Wolves, we lost against them. Big whoop. We were going to come back stronger. This Liverpool game highlights how poor we've actually become. And maybe it is a kick up the arse for those players now to think, do you know what? We're going to have to put in a shift now. We get paid enough money. We're professional players. We get out on that pitch and we put a full shift in. We don't just lay back on the ball. We go for it. And I think it come back to James's point. If the players aren't going to go for it, bring some players in that have the passion to wear the shirt every minute of the game. Foden he may not have been good enough quality to face Liverpool. I'd happily admit I don't think he's there yet to face a team like Liverpool, but he would have brought a lot more to that game than any other player on that pitch. Energy.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine Foden in that Chelsea team now? It'd be all right, wouldn't it?
He'd be a world beater already in that Chelsea team now. I couldn't agree more with what James and Dan have said there. Something needs to change, and hopefully the last few games, that's given them the kick up the arse that they need. But at the end of the day, it's not just the players, as I keep saying. It's Pep Guardiola who needs a kick up the arse as well. Someone needs to sit down with him and say, look, it isn't working. He can say everything he wants about injuries. Look at the bench that we had against Liverpool. Mahrez and David Silva, and Foden. Who else was on the bench for us? Cancelo on bench. There's no argument to say that it was injuries that cost us that game. We could have done it if our tactics were right, and if Pep had actually had the balls to change things up. I was amazed that he left Aguero on the pitch as long as he did, because 2 seasons ago, when him and Aguero were at loggerheads and you thought Aguero was going to leave, he wouldn't have given 2 shits about taking him off after 15 minutes and giving him a rocket. He left him on for 71 minutes. And that's what I'm struggling with. That why is Pep not seeing things that the rest of us are? So yeah, it's the players who have to look at themselves, and it's Pep and his coaching staff as well. I'm expecting something completely different a week on. Is it Saturday or Sunday when we play Chelsea? There's got to be a response.
Something I'd really like to happen, which I don't think it's going to do, is for Foden to actually have a go at the older players. Like during the game, if they're not performing. Because Foden, like we said about the money, and he doesn't play for money, does he? Foden doesn't care whether he's going to get paid £2 or 200 grand. He's playing because he's a fan of the club.
Yeah.
And it's to that point where what I feel like we don't have now is when Joe came in and Zaba came in, Alex came in, and we had Dzeko and stuff, all the lads became fans of the club. And I don't feel like we've kind of got that as much now as what we did. Like, that's why I feel like we need sometimes, like, it'd be really good if Foden could kind of, he's not going to, but if we had someone a little bit older that was maybe like a localish lad or a lad that's, played for us for a while, or that's going to be like, look, this is what this means. This is exactly how big this game is going to be. This is the history that these fans have had. This is how they've put, and I think even if someone like Foden said something or acted in a certain way, and like when we played Tottenham last year at home and Foden scored after the Champions League game.
Yeah, header.
That whole emotion of stuff, it actually shocked me that he scored. But then I thought, actually, no, it don't, because he's bust his gut to get in there because he wants to score.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think that we're missing this year. Maybe it's going to take a season. I don't know.
I think it's going to take more than a season. Foden's time will come for not just playing regularly, but that mentality of the local lad comes good, because we're going to get more than one Foden coming through the ranks. It's going to be very, very similar mentality. That you look at the Sancho that's left. I understand why he left. He wasn't a City fan. Didn't come from the area. Fine, whatever. Go play. No problem whatsoever. But we've got one or two hopefully one or two young Manchester Northwest lads coming through the ranks that actually knows what it appreciates. What it is. We will see that in time. We will see that. I'm positive of that. I think Foden's just too young. There's too many senior players there to see that at the moment.
Yeah. No,
Sterling going up to him, starting on him.
Yeah, but I agree though. I mean, I think we were talking on admin the other week when Doyle started the game, and you watched it. He was actually looking to Foden for that advice and kind of the tap on the shoulder that you're doing a good job. I think James is right that. What was it? John Terry was 19 when he took over the captaincy of Chelsea. He's got Foden. Hopefully, is going to be our John Terry and be that passionate City supporter who gets to wear that shirt on a Saturday and bollock the other players. Like, be the voice. Apparently, don't all the players call Foden like Pep's boy or something? Isn't that his nickname? At training, it's Pep's boy. Then. All right, Foden, then be Pep's voice on the game. And again, maybe he's not going to start every game this season, but as we were talking about a few minutes ago, if this is a season somewhat of transition, let's start playing Foden more if we want him to be more vocal when it comes to next season.
Yeah, I don't think Pep understands the word transition, though, does he? That's the problem. He'll never go. He'll always want to win. He's got that killer mentality with him, hasn't he? But I see where you're coming from. I just don't see that killer that we've had last year, the year before. I just don't see it in our current team. It's really frustrating. But again, I put that down to captaincy more than anything else.
Yeah.
I think something's not right in the background to go through that. What's going to happen to them? We've had a question come through from David Christie about how do we solve our defensive problems. It's hard. It's such a hard question. Is it money? Yeah.
No.
Is it money, or is it playing the youth that we've got there? It's play Garcia, isn't it? It's got to be. It's got to blood our youngsters.
Play Garcia.
I know Dave was saying that he'd done like a little team formation thing before. I'd obviously written one down for Sunday, and it was all around this Fernandinho playing as a centre half. It was to have Stones, Fernandinho, and Otamendi. So we've still got two solid centre halves, but Fernandinho's actually in that slot, and having Angelino on the left, and I prefer Cancelo at this moment in time over Walker on the right.
Agreed.
And then just having Rodri and De Bruyne in front. Rodri can coast in and out, take his movement. De Bruyne's free to come back and forth as he wants. And then you've got, mine was Sergio up top, Raz on the left, and Bernardo Silva on the right, but as like a triangle, not as like a flat wide three. Just something different because the fullbacks could have bombed on a little bit. But coming to the defensive question, for me, if you looked, it pains me to say it, but when United were really good and they had Van der Sar, Vidic, and Ferdinand, they had a triangle three, and it was if Vidic was out on injury, they still had two solid players. So Van der Sar would kind of fill in as that centre half to help that side. And for me, we've got it with Laporte and Edison, but when neither are playing, I notice it massively. We've no leadership on that back line. We've no one controlling where that line's going to go. And last season, when Laporte didn't play but Kompany did, it was Kompany and Edison that was doing it. But then when it was all three, we were absolutely brilliant. No one could touch us. And that's what we're lacking. We're lacking that leadership in defence. No one's telling players where to move, where to be at a certain point. And that's what I think is going to cost us unless we sort it out. Because between now and when Laporte comes back is a long period of time, and there's a lot of games. Yeah, there's a lot of games.
Have we got any updates with where he's up to with his fitness?
I still keep hearing January that he'll be back playing. So I hope that's the case. But as we've just answered now, if that's the question, what do we do defensively? I bring in Garcia. Otamendi, to James's point, is almost definitely gone at the end of the season. Yes, he can still be useful in cup games and whatever else, but Garcia's our future. Foden's our future. Let's play him. Let's give them some time.
We've got a lot of running games coming, haven't we, in the next 6 weeks? So, hopefully we'll start seeing them more. And the more they play well. What we need them to do is give, what's the phrase I'm looking for here? Not give Pep an opportunity to drop them. They need to have outstanding games and they need to cement their place themselves. That's what we need players to do. Not give them an opportunity to say, actually, you didn't do great. We'll bring in another team now. We'll drop Fernandinho there. We need Garcia to step up and go, right, this is me, this is my place, and I want to play next week, so I'm going to have a 10 out of 10 here today. That's what we need from these lads.
The term you're looking for, Tom, is selection headache.
Selection headache. That's what he needs, yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. Anything else to talk about the dreadful game at Anfield then? Anyone else want to get anything else off the shoulders?
That's it for
No.
me.
It's hard, isn't it? It really is, because it's so... I hate losing for most things in life, but at big games like this, I just didn't feel like we just had it in it. We seemed a shadow of ourselves. It's so frustrating.
We did.
So frustrating. Especially
Pep's still on the pitch clapping.
You up, pal?
Apparently Pep's still on the pitch clapping.
That was funny, wasn't it? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You see that afterwards?
It's not after the game that really pissed me off with his clapping. It's during the game. I think we cocked up on so many individual errors that lost us that game more than anything, bar that. But it's the fact that we didn't have Pep going, look, you're in the shit here. You did something wrong. Pull yourself together. He was like, well done. You fucked up there, didn't you? Well done, well done, well done. And then he did the same thing to the ref. The referee did fuck up, but... Oh, we have actually... Did you read that we've now put in a formal complaint against
Yes.
Michael Offer to the PFA?
Yeah, a formal
Nothing will come of it. Never does.
No, nothing will come of
Riley,
it.
hasn't it? Like you say, nothing will happen. It'll just be a shot across the bow. It makes me think how many of them actually go in on a weekly basis. He must have loads. He must have a permanent shredder next to his inbox.
I remember when Phil Dowd apparently used to get constant ones about his weight problem. And it turned him into an athlete at the end, didn't he? And then he retired.
Oh, typical, isn't it? Well, we've seen today about Bernardo Silva's come through, haven't we? The one-match ban. Were we expecting one match with it going to the FA?
Yeah, I'm surprised it was only one. He's been made an example of. So
I was surprised with the
talk-
fine.
Yeah.
I thought the fine were excessive.
50 grand. Well, wasn't it? How much did City get fined for coming late onto a pitch a couple of years ago? Was it 25 grand? Something like that for coming on 2 minutes late to a game. I can't remember what it was. Remember that? The league Champions League game.
Yeah, I remember that.
50 grand's a lot of gas. It's for me. I was mentioning before to Sam, whose podcast you'll listen to after this show. Is it worries me now that we're going to lose the personality of players with this, because obviously there's a lot of automation in the tweets that's going out from famous people, particularly footballers, as in thanks for coming today, I'm sorry we lost today, etc., etc. But it worries me we're going to stop seeing the better side of Twitter now, where we're going to be able to stop having the interaction with players or the banter with players as much with this type of thing, because you see the likes of Walker tweeting stuff out, and there's some players that do it really well and some good fun out there. And obviously this is taken too far for the FA, but do you think this will stop players being so personable on social media?
Probably.
Yeah.
It's got to do. I mean, he took that tweet down within like 14 minutes or something like that. He realised it maybe wasn't the greatest thing to do, but yeah, they've still made an example of it. Yeah, I think VAR and all this kind of stuff is going to be the death of football. I really do. It's turning so many people off. Everything that's happening over the last few months, that it's not going to be the biggest sport in the world if we're not careful.
It's funny. We'll take a bit of a break here. I'm gonna keep that question on hold, Dave. What you said there about would this be the change of football, etc. Because I've got a good question that came in from a fan, Ashley Hesk, at the end. I think you know which question I mean. But what I'm going to do now, I'm going to put a stop in here. I'm going to play the interview I did with Sam Lee, sports journalist for The Athletic. And we'll see what he has to say, and I'll talk to you again later. Fantastic. Sam Lee, thank you very much for sparing the time with us. I really appreciate it. How are you doing over there? You all right?
No problem. Yeah, all good. Thanks. All good.
Well, we've just literally had the bombshell drop on us that Bernardo Silva is going to be banned for the Chelsea game. It's not the best timing, but I suppose I kind of knew something was coming. I couldn't, obviously, going to the FA, I always knew something was going to happen. I was really hoping for a fine, but the ban's just a real kick in the teeth for us at the moment. I suppose the lucky side is we've got a week or so before that happens, so we'll get some fitness with our players back together.
I suppose it's just the timing of it, really, which is probably the worst thing for City, because a one-game ban, it's difficult because some people will probably be saying it should be much more. Some people will be saying it shouldn't be a ban at all. But in terms of a one-game ban, it wouldn't have been that bad. But obviously, it's the Chelsea game at the weekend, and at the moment, City aren't quite their unbeatable best, and Chelsea aren't quite, the kind of flaky side that they've been the last couple of years. So it's going to be a big game, and obviously, it's bad luck for City. I suppose that the timing of it means he's going to miss that one as well. As for the rest of it, I mean, it's a pretty sorry episode, isn't it? Really. All sorts of people are unhappy for all sorts of different reasons. I think it brings out the worst in a lot of people on social media. Yeah, I don't think there's too much more to say about it, to be honest. I read the written reasons, and it kind of, they make sense. The commission was like, well, it had to be a ban, but because of all these, the factors that are in the reasons, basically, he didn't mean it to be offensive. Yeah. Mendy didn't find it offensive, and this kind of stuff. They decided that it had to be a ban because of the people who did take offence and the people who could take offence, and the fact that it was seen by so many people. But the mitigating circumstances kind of meant that it was only going to be a small ban. So they went with one in the end. I mean, to me, it kind of makes sense. But yeah, there we go. Basically, I suppose from the City point of view and in terms of impact on the first team, it's a bit of a loss for the Chelsea game. But let's be honest, it's not the Bernardo Silva of last season. There should be enough midfield options for that game, so he wouldn't be needed in midfield. Obviously, it depends what kind of Mahrez you're going to get. And the weekend of the Chelsea game, it also depends what kind of Bernardo it would have been. So I mean, it's not ideal, obviously, but it's not like a massive loss because it's not the Bernardo of last season.
No, you're absolutely spot on. I mean, this is one of the bad luck runs in threes thing I'm running on YouTube. It's obviously we were Sterling and the Liverpool loss as well. This will be a bit of a groundswell for me for footballers and people in general, I would think, on Twitter, knowing that obviously this has been clamped down on now. You'll start to see. It worries me that we'll start to see emotion going out of footballers on Twitter, and we're starting to see their personalities being lost a little bit somewhere. That it worries me a little bit. Obviously, I can understand why they have done it. I completely understand that. I think everyone understands why. There's a lot of people that don't want it to happen for obvious reasons. Because it's a City player, there's always going to be that tribalism with football, and obviously defending our players. I can understand why they've done it. I obviously didn't want it to be a ban. I can understand why they have. I just hope we don't now see a bit of a groundswell of lack of emotion coming from footballers through Twitter, and that
there's a big difference though between like emotion and having a laugh and straying into, racist territory. Obviously not you didn't want, not intentionally, but that was what it was. I think there's still a big difference between footballers tweeting jokey stuff or whatever. But I think that's been passed a long time ago. How many footballers really go on there? How many City players in particular really use it for anything that's not, oh, thanks for watching the game? You think of Sterling and Walker, Mendy. Yeah. But I think I wouldn't be surprised if they all had the exact same bloke running the accounts for them. So it's it's not the players anyway. Like Leicester, I always seem to see Leicester players. They're always having a joke or they're having a go at newspapers or whatever, and everyone likes that. So there's still a massive area for footballers to enjoy themselves on social media. Just don't make the stupid mistake that Bernardo did, and it was a mistake. It was a stupid mistake. Absolutely. Do you think the Sterling being dropped will affect his attitude going in? Because he's been unbelievable, hasn't he? Do you think his attitude will change coming back into the City fold when he eventually does? No, I doubt it. Sterling has had to put up with a lot and play through a lot. He's matured a lot. I don't think so. At City, he's among friends, and he knows his role. He carries out his role generally really well. I can't see the England stuff having too much of an effect on him when he gets back to City, to be honest. And obviously, by the time of the Chelsea game, there'd be a lot of focus on that game. They'll be thinking about that. And it would have been a long time ago. It would have been the best part of 2 weeks ago. So I don't know. I'd have thought it would be pretty much out of his mind. And like I say, he's a mature player anyway. So
you might want to stay in front of the senior players. I can see this all bubbling up because of. I don't know why. I just obviously with Joe Gomez having being the new youngster coming into the team, he just needed taking down a peg or two, and Sterling thought he was doing that. And obviously, we'll never know the true reasons for it. And I still, as a person who's managed teams in the past, taking this externally, I just can't understand why Southgate's done it. I don't understand why he's allowed this to go to where it has done. And he must have known that there would have been a bit of an uproar with it. He must have, surely.
Yeah, well, I think the problem was it came out in the paper first. So, and as soon as it was out in the media, they had to have a response. I mean, I think the response is probably a bit heavy-handed. The statement saying he's not going to play in the game. That I think that kind of added to it and made it seem a bit more serious than perhaps it was, or even if it was more serious than we think, it's kind of put the story on a par with that. It's made it a serious story. If you would have left it with the newspapers and kind of either played it with a straight bat or not said a lot or anything like that, they could have handled it better. But I mean, to be fair, I don't think they had much of a choice because it was going to be in the media anyway.
Yes, I think the one thing I can guarantee is he's going to get lots of love from City. And if I'm brutally honest, I'm not that gutted. I do watch England. I do enjoy watching England, but I'd rather Sterling get a week's rest because obviously we've got a hell of a December coming up, haven't we?
Yeah, well, yeah, the City's fixtures are mad, really. And yeah, when you look at the title and that kind of stuff, Liverpool have just had their big run of fixtures, and City are just going into theirs now. And I mean, even the games that aren't against big opponents like Chelsea, Arsenal, United, Leicester, typically difficult away games against Wolves, Newcastle and Burnley as well, and obviously Sheffield United right at the end of it. Who knows what state the two teams will be in by then, but I can't imagine that'd be too easy. Well, I suppose I expect City to win now, speaking 6 or 7 weeks before it happens. But yeah, no easy games before January the 1st.
No, you're spot on. How influential do you think December will be for us for our season? Because obviously we've taken a bit of a pounding on the pitch as well as off the pitch recently. I think December's going to be a huge month to see where we finally appear. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, it's all important because if you drop points anywhere, then you can't get them back or whatever. But what City need to do, I think, is go into the new year and be in a position where Laporte will be back and maybe Sane will be back. Still kind of in touch with Liverpool, and like I say, given the fixtures that City have got coming up and the fixtures that Liverpool have got, Liverpool's are a bit more. Well, they are a bit easier, but obviously they've already had their hard run, so that's fine. Obviously they've done what they needed to do. They've obviously got Leicester on Boxing Day. I think they'll be missing a game as well because of the Club World Cup. So if they were to drop points and City were to get it back to 3 or 6 with a game in hand or whatever it might be. Obviously, that would put City in a very good position for the second half of the season. But obviously, the focus on City is, they've got to win all of their games. And last season, obviously, towards the end of last season, that wasn't a problem. They won, obviously the last 14. They got themselves on track after Christmas as well. And it was only Newcastle that was a dip in, 17, 18 games. So we know they can do it. But at the moment, it's not quite as solid a team as it has been.
Yeah.
November and December are going to be really important because if City do drop more points, you probably expect Liverpool to keep going. And yeah, if it gets to double figures or 12, 13 points or whatever by the start of the year, that's going to be really, really difficult.
Yeah, we're in trouble then, aren't we? I spoke to a lot of Liverpool fans over the last couple of days, and most of them are saying if we can keep to 9 or 10 points, and we're still at that lead by the end of January, it's ours. We're done then, and I can't disagree with them because I can't see anything stopping. I still think City are missing a company. I mean, we're always going to miss company. Anyone would, any team would. I just can't see where that influence is coming from the squad at the moment. I'm really looking for a player to stand up and be counted, and I'm not seeing that in our team at the minute, which is a bit worrying.
Form-wise, the thing is, like, obviously with company's character, there's always that element to it. But in terms of players standing up and being counted, in the past last season, Bernardo was one, Sterling was one, De Bruyne has been one in the past, the 100-point season, David Silva in the 100-point season, Laporte was always reliable, Edison always reliable. So City got plenty of players like that. I think it's just the form really, and I'm not sure why it's so kind of temperamental, so up and down this season. I'd love to know if we had the answer to that. Then it would be a lot easier to analyse. But the company thing. He was never going to be able to be replaced. Even if City had signed a new centre back, it would never be a company. Even if he would be, better on the pitch or more reliable in terms of injuries, because it's something different. But City have lost influential players. It's all about the system and that kind of thing at City rather than the individual. It's if you look at De Bruyne on Sunday, he was a bit loose with his passing, has been for a couple of weeks. Bernardo, like I said, Bernardo's not been the same player. So there's a few different factors going on. I'm not sure if it's just like the lack of a company type figure. I think a lot of the players, for whatever reason, need to up their levels to what they have been in last season or the season before.
Do you, obviously you've got your ear to the ground much more than I have. Have you heard any rumour mills about potential January transfers?
Yeah, they're looking at Oyarzábal, the lad from Real Sociedad, in case Sane leaves.
Who was that? Sorry, I missed that.
Oyarzábal, what's
Okay.
his name? Oyarzábal? Mikel, I think, from Real Sociedad. In case Sane goes, but obviously the Sane thing's a bit of a mystery. It doesn't look like he's going to sign a new contract, but I've not heard anything in a couple of months. But it doesn't sound good. The thing is though, if they want to sign anybody from overseas, they need to get rid of somebody. So if they were to sell Sane, I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't sign another winger and they actually used the money in the squad space to buy a centre back. But the message on a centre back is they're not just going to sign for the sake of it. It needs to be somebody, they're not just going to sign on like a 7 out of 10 centre back to get them through for the end of the season. They want it to be somebody who they would normally sign in the summer. They want it to be that kind of 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 player that they would get. Obviously, they got that with Laporte a couple of years ago. They're going to need to see if they can do that now. But obviously, that's difficult in its own right. And then the other part of it is if they want to sign an overseas player, then they need to get rid of an overseas player. So can they sell Sane? Can they sell Otamendi? Somebody like that? I can't really see it being anybody else. If they can find a homegrown centre-back, fine. I know they've liked Nathan Ake, but would Bournemouth sell him mid-season, or would they sell him for a price that City would settle for? I'm not sure. In terms of other English options, I don't know. I'm not sure there's any that stand out, or certainly stand out that would be attainable. So it's difficult. Like, it's not just the usual problems with buying in January. City got the squad rota problems as well. So.
Absolutely. No, you're spot on there. Well, listen, I think we're done now. I better leave you to your day. I just really appreciate your time and coming on and having a chat to us, and we better leave you to it, haven't we?
Well, if you want, mate, no problem at all. I'll go and crack on, and let me know how it goes, and I'll speak to it.
Absolutely, yeah. Keep up the good work, Sam. Really appreciate it. And your Twitter. Where can people find you? Do you want to talk to you?
At Sam Lee on Twitter. That's the main one now.
Fantastic. Well, listen, have a great day, and thanks very much for your time.
Thanks a lot, mate. Cheers.
Catch you later.
Yeah.
This is a really good question. This by Ask. Which do you prefer, before money or after money? It's such a simple question, because as soon as I read this question, the first thing I thought of was me, my dad, my brother, and my granddad at Main Road. We used to at half time. Used to go down. Used to have a pie. We used to know everybody. Everybody sat around us in the main stand. And I've still got a couple of friends now that I used to sit next to them in the main stand. I see them all the time in town and things like this. And I remember having so many really good memories as a kid growing up, going to Main Road and watching it. I've not had that at the ground we've got now. I've not had that feeling since we've had the money. Maybe that's because it's lost its magical, because I've grown up a little bit and I'm actually having to pay for tickets and stuff now. It's not my dad paying for it. But it's one of those now, isn't it? It's actually, do you know what? Did I enjoy football before City got all this money? I think I did. I think I enjoyed it a bit more, because there was just that, there's a different feeling of life at the moment, isn't there, with being City? It's kind of that, I don't know what the phrase is, but the expectation of what we've become to this massive entity of a football club, to what we used to be. Great, we got a draw today. That was brilliant. Do you know what I mean? And going into school the next day and getting all the shit from United fans that I used to get for being a City fan and going to the games. What do you guys think?
Well, I commented on that. I think I sent a message to you lads about it. There was an expectation nowadays for us to win everything. Back then, there wasn't. If we won against Leicester at the time, we would have been like, "Oh my God, we just beat them! What a 3 points that was! Great day out, brilliant." Now, if we get a draw or a hard-fought win, we're like, "Oh, fucking hell, we were lucky then, weren't we?" There's almost that expectation that we should be winning every single game, no matter who it is. Back then, we win against the smallest team. We're like, yeah, we've got a good 3 points there. I'm happy with that. Go out and put our feet up and have a few pints and have a good chat with lads and stuff like that. Now, it's like doom and gloom, even if it's just a poor draw.
We're no longer the underdog.
Yeah, exactly.
No, I mentioned this on several podcasts now, that I miss my days on the Kippax and that camaraderie there of, to your point, Tom, of being surrounded by people who you just meet on a Saturday, but you got to know, over many seasons, and many years. And yeah, we were crap. And, when we had a good result, you'd think we won the Champions League, or something like that. But Yeah, it's a really tough question because I prefer Main Road and the atmosphere that was created there of being somewhat the underdog every game that we went into. But I obviously enjoy the football that I'm actually been lucky enough to see over the last few years, particularly under Pep. But just us winning things. But I don't want our soul to be ripped out of the club. And God, if you push me, if you really push me, I'd probably say I prefer it without money.
Does it feel like you're supporting a different club now?
A little bit. I don't like what they've done to this. Where's the FC?
I noticed that. I like that.
Yeah, we're Manchester City Football Club. We're not Manchester City brand in Melbourne and China and bloody New York and whatever. We're Manchester City FC, and that's what I'm saying about the soul being ripped out of the club. That I don't want that. I want the real fans to still be able to go to the games and still have discussions like we're having now, that we're the proper fans. We're not going back 4 or 5 years of success. We're going back when we were absolutely shite. I'm 45 now, so I've kind of gone through all of that. And for me to say, I actually prefer it when we were up and down yo-yoing in the divisions, because there was a more camaraderie, in my opinion, between all the City fans, all as Blues.
Yeah, so there's that banter. What really bugs me, and it's bugged me since they've done it, it's the word citizen. They've put a Y in, and it really grates me that. Because citizen was always a thing for me. That used to be our nickname, and they start fucking around with our badge from years ago. Don't start doing this, Mr. Branding Man. It's always been, there's no Z in it, no Y in it. There's little things like that bug me. That's a bit frustrating, but anyway, I can understand why they do it from a branding perspective, but from a fan perspective, as soon as I see somebody spell citizen with a Y, it's like, how long have you supported City? 2 years? 3 years? Come on, mate. Really bugs me. Anyway, I've wanted to get that off my shoulder for a long time, you can tell, can't you? I don't even swore so much.
No.
Do you think if City could redesign the stadium, they'd redesign it the same as it is now?
Oh, what a great question. I'd like to think.
I know it sounds, because obviously Anfield is how Anfield is, but if you were to go to random people in the world that have never really watched football and said, name me a football stadium in England, more than likely they're probably going to say Wembley or Old Trafford. But Anfield seems to be a really hard ground to go to, and I don't know why. But teams go to the Etihad, and it doesn't seem intimidating enough. So I don't know if to redesign the stadium, how would they redesign it? Do you think the same as it is now, or do you think they do it like similar to Anfield?
No, I think they do it similar to what it is now, but more on the lines of Tottenham's, just a bit bigger, or maybe with a I'd love that Dortmund bank of fans. The wall of fans. I like that.
Absolutely love that.
I think I'd like something like that at City, which we're not going to get, unfortunately. But it's a really good question. That's a really good question. One thing that bugs me about Anfield is whenever I sit there, wherever you sit, I'm facing the fans. I'm not facing the centre circle. It's like you're sat inwards. Does that make sense? It's not a bowl. You're not always facing towards the centre circle. I'm kind of facing the fans that we're looking at, and I have to turn. Everyone's turned that way, bent sideways or standing sideways to watch the game. So I see what you mean Anfield, but it's things like Anfield and Old Trafford. There's like changes to the ground every so often, isn't there? That just make it. Oh, hang on, we're going on tour with Dave. I hope you're not going to the toilet.
No, I'm not. Don't worry about that. But I've been kicked out of the office. I'm going somewhere else.
Would you change it, James? Would you change it?
I would change the Etihad. I'd change it if I could. I'd make it more intimidating. I don't think it's intimidating enough. I think it's too soft. There isn't enough noise inside the Etihad. If that makes sense. There is noise from the fans, obviously, but there isn't enough noise throughout.
Look at Dan. Is this because I moved? Dan?
It's just I saw there was one person when you're walking through the door just looking at you like. Just imagine you walking around with a laptop going.
That's actually the CEO of the company too.
I hope he knows you're wearing a City shirt today.
Oh God.
Yeah, thankfully we're allowed to wear what we want to work, so
I
it's
love
all
it.
good.
I love it.
Yes.
Just coming on to your point, James. The thing, the big, what I would do with the current stadium or any current stadium is, I would put the away fans as far away from the pitch as possible. Do you know like Newcastle do? They stick you in a corner somewhere.
Yeah.
Nowhere. I'd do that. Get them away from the pitch. Get them away from behind the goal. You're making all the noise you want, but you're not being right next to next to your players. That's the biggest change at City. But you can't give them that whole top row, can you? At the Etihad for obviously down and stuff. So.
Well, did you see? One of my friends went to the Atalanta game away at the San Siro. It was like I could barely see the players. It was that high up. He said I could barely see the players.
I went to Barcelona a few years ago. I genuinely needed to put my glasses on to watch the game.
It was like it was unreal. It's like I've never been as high in my life to watch a football game. So, but that works if you're away fans. If you know, that's something I think that we do. We do I think we do give too many seats sometimes to the away fans, especially to fans that are going to make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
Because I can remember I went to the Victoria Pilsen game. When was the year? Would it have been 2011? It was in November. It was for my birthday, and it was absolutely freezing. Like it was Baltic. They didn't care. They were stood there with the shirts off, dancing, singing, and I was just like, you'd never get that.
Yeah.
Just at any stadium in England, the atmosphere when you watch like Marseille have celebrated their 125th year, and they played against Lyon. I don't know if any of you guys have seen it.
No.
They did a whole stadium mural before the game, and all fireworks were going off, and lights are going off on the team. And it was like and these of us players are walking out, and I'm like, this is just such an intimidating place to go and try and play football.
Yeah.
But Anfield tries to replicate that, not to the same effect that they do it like Dortmund and stuff, but they're the only team, that's unbeaten at home in so many games.
Yeah, I can't see us ever having that intimidating atmosphere. You see all the Liverpool fans with the flares again and things like that. I'd love that at City. I'd love that. I'd never have the time to go down to the game that early to do it, granted, but
But none of them are at work.
Yeah, that's a fair point, actually. Yeah. Nobody writing, please. Oh, brilliant. Anyone else got anything else to add?
Not on that point.
Other Dan wanted something mentioning, didn't he?
What did he mention? Do you remember?
So it was Leicester. Sanucci, was it? You wanted
the centre half.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because we're talking about possible replacements and bringing people in January. What's that? I don't know how to pronounce the lad's name, to be honest.
Yeah, Shaluku or something like that. Yeah.
Soyuncu.
I mean, he's not. Yeah, he's gonna have a £50 million price tag already, and it's the same as always with us. As soon as we go asking about a player, they add another 15% onto the cost of him, and that's when we usually turn around and go, yeah, we're not interested. There's no way we are going to get that player. No way.
Yeah, can't disagree. I think we've got more chance of getting Alderweireld than anything else. I think you mentioned that, James, the other day, didn't you? Is he out of contract soon? I'd have him.
Yeah, he's out of contract at the end of next season, I think, or it might even be this season. I'm not right sure. I know both of them are out of contract soon, Ardwick and Vertonghen. For 25 mil, I don't see, especially if Otamendi's going to go, I don't see the issue with going to get Ardwick if they're going to go out and spend whatever they're going to spend on Diaz. For me, it just makes a bit more sense. Because Ardwick does need a new club, and so does Vertonghen, because Tottenham are thankfully in a worse place than us.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, I think we'll wrap it up here, guys. I think we've had a good session for an hour.
Let me ask one.
Oh,
go on, one.
Dave, I think
one cornetto.
Oh, hang on.
What a cracking face of that.
The question about Edin Dzeko.
Oh, hang on, Dave, you're back. I don't know how much you heard us taking the piss at you then, mate, but we didn't hear you very well.
I heard every word.
That was good.
Is Pep a stopgap manager?
Oh,
I don't think he is. I don't think he's the sort of player who will bring in a player for 6 months. I can't see him doing it because for me, Pep's the sort of person who won't admit that I need reinforcements. I need to bring in someone because this isn't working. I can't see him doing it. If we bring anyone in January, which I don't think we're going to do, but if he does, it's for 5-6 years, like a Laporte who came in January. I can't see him going, okay, can we bring in someone in loan or whatever, or just give them an 18-month contract? I don't think he's that kind of manager.
Do you know what? It's extremely funny you mentioned that. Obviously, from the chat I had with Sam Lee, we were talking about like potential January transfer windows, and he said only if someone comes available that's like a 9 or 10. Pep's not the type of manager to go out and buy a 6 or 7 or an 8er, unless they're a 9 or 10. Go for him. It just doesn't see the point in it. And I get that. I completely get that. So I don't think he is. When he said stopgap guy, I thought he meant is he a stopgap manager as in he'll be leaving soon. My heart nearly just then.
I won't mind a load of players. Well, one of you. Which one? No, I won't mind a half-season loan every now and then because do you guys remember it'll be probably about 8 years? In fact, no, it was the title-winning season, first one. David Pizarro.
Oh, God, yeah.
Bloody hell.
What a player. I think he was like 31, 32. What a player he was. And we only had him for half season on loan.
Yeah, I do remember that.
If we just have one player like that for half season just to lift a few spirits. I remember, other than, a few years ago when it was Petrov, who was my favourite player, I really liked that guy even for half a season. He's had something about him.
Yeah. I thought that about Bodjanov.
But he played about 7 games for us in 2 seasons or something like that.
Yeah, he's constantly injured.
Like Joe as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, what 7 games though, Dave? What 7 games?
Yeah. Oh, I thought he was going to be a world beater. I mean, he built like exactly the same as Aguero. Came same with such a good reputation from Italy, and then didn't he get injured within like 4 minutes of his debut or something? And that was it. He was done.
Who was it that shared his misses though to the Arvid Messenger page? That was the reason why I won it.
Did what? Sorry, what did he say then? You're gonna have to repeat that, mate. I lost
No. It came out very wrong. That, yeah, I know. But no, it was me that put the post on originally. About a few weeks ago about him, and I'm sure it was. Well, he played a couple of games, but he was always injured because his missus was a bit of a looker. He lost interest in the game. He was more interested in getting injured in other ways, if you know what I mean.
Oh, he doesn't want Zinchenko.
Zinchenko's only just got married and he's already injured. Engaged and he's already injured.
That's a very good point, Dan.
Deja vu. I don't blame him. This isn't about, I don't think.
Right, on that note, lads, we're wrapping it up here before this gets downhill.
Yeah.
Is this a bad time to tell you I've been married for 4 months? I'm not injured. That's not a good sign, is it?
I've only been married 5.
Right.
I'm doing worse.
No, we're going. Have a fantastic night, lads. Thanks very much for your time.
All the best, boys.
All right.
Cheers, boys.
Have a good day. Cheers.
Until we die.
Cheers, boys.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Well, that's it for another week, Blues. I hope you've enjoyed it. Just to let you know, we are live on Patreon now, so if you do like what you see and would like to contribute and subscribe to what we are offering, please go on to patreon.com/Manchester is Blue. Obviously, the show will remain free, but by subscribing, you'll help to ensure the podcast and videos and all the online content over Facebook and Twitter remains at a high content and obviously helps with the production value of what we're doing here today. So if you can spare a couple of quid every month and like what we're doing, please consider joining us on Patreon and becoming a subscriber. Thank you.